Hello and welcome to another video. In last week's video I talked about sound design and the importance of developing your ear and using sound design as a tool for improving yourself as a modular synth artist. In today's video I guess I kind of want to talk about almost sort of like the opposite of that in some ways. But what this video is going to be about is how modular synth can be a very fulfilling and enjoyable experience and why I think that is, and how it can be beneficial for us. So if you are somebody who is thinking about getting into modular synth and you're wondering what it's all about, then hopefully this video will help to convince you that it's a good idea and that there are many benefits to be had from working with modular synth. It's not just always about the music. Hey there, if you are enjoying these videos and you are enjoying the weird and wonderful world of modular synthesis, then please do consider hitting the subscribe button. It just lets the algorithm know that I'm not sat here muttering to myself in this room full of cables for no reason. And of course, if you would like to support the channel further, I do have a Patreon, the link is in the description. There's not an awful lot on there at the moment, but it is growing and it is filling up. You can kind of think of it as like an exclusive, minimalist, modular experience. But genuinely, your support is very much appreciated. It keeps the patch cables untangled and the ideas flowing. So, thank you for being here, thank you for watching. It really does mean a lot. But let's get back to the video, shall we? Cheerio! So, yeah, in that last video I talked about working intentionally with sound and trying to create sounds. But actually, you know, a lot of the time I will sit down with an intention and what I end up with is something completely different from what I intended. And quite often it will be much better and much more interesting than what I was trying to do in the first place. And a lot of that comes through the sort of happy accidents that happen, exploration that happens whilst we're working with the synth, you know, and just allowing that process to sort of unfold and the unexpected just allowing the unexpected to happen. And in many ways I kind of think of working with modular as sort of like working with a puzzle. You know, it's kind of like this creative puzzle, and in many ways, you know, same as sort of sitting with a crossword puzzle or a Sudoku puzzle can be enjoyable, and having to sort of figure out what you're going to do. Working with modular is just like that. But this puzzle that we have with modular is this kind of like open-ended puzzle where anything can happen, and there isn't just one correct answer, but there's almost sort of like an infinite number of possible answers to the puzzle. And so the puzzle that we have with modular is to create a sound. And you know, sometimes you will have an idea for a sound, or you'll have an idea for a patch, or the way a piece of music is going to work, and you have to sort of work your way backwards, almost kind of reverse engineering what that sound or what that patch is going to be. You have to sort of reverse engineer that in your imagination and then go to your synth and sort of experiment and build it up. Apologies if this is, I can hear outside it's just started raining really heavily and there's lots of cars going past and it's really noisy, so apologies if that's being picked up on the microphone. I will try and press on though. So yeah, so you have the idea of something in your head and you have to sort of trace through the signal flow of that and try and work out what it's going to be, and then start experimenting and building that. But on the way there'll be points where that you can deviate off and you can do different things and try different things, and you'll think, oh, I wonder what will happen if I do this, or I wonder what will happen if I do this. And that experimentation you know, leads to new sounds and new ideas. And that is kind of like the enjoyable, fun part of modular. But the other aspect of it is that as you're working on a patch, you're using up your resources. You're using up your patch cables, you're using up the modules, you've got less to work with. So if you've got an idea for something and it's going to have several voices to it or whatnot, then you've got to think about how you're going to do that. And as you work through that, you're going to, as I say, you're going to use up your resources, and then you're going to have to think, well, what am I going to do now? I wanted to use this particular module, but I'm already using it, so I'm going to have to do something else instead. How am I going to do that? Maybe I'm going to have to combine different modules together, or maybe there's another module. It's not necessarily meant for that, but it's going to work, so I can use that instead. And you start thinking a little bit more creatively, or you're forced to think more creatively through that limitation of what you can do. And of course, there's no manual for this. You just have these clues that you kind of have to follow through listening to what you're doing, and you know that is the sort of puzzle aspect of it, and that's the fun part of working with modular. Now, of course, you're not going to get this experience if you are always working with presets. So whether that's presets in a DAW or presets on a hardware fixed architecture synth, but you only really get this with a system that allows you to patch. So that's, you know, that doesn't mean to say it has to be modular, because there's plenty of other systems out there that allow you to patch things and have inbuilt patching within it. So like there's that pedal, it's called Empress Zoya. I always wanted one of those when I used to play guitar more, and I never quite got around to it. And I know that they did bring out a Eurorack version, but you know, I never got around to getting hold of that either. But that looks like a really interesting device, which allows you to patch within the device and create all kinds of, you know, almost kind of like a modular system within that pedal. And then, of course, you know, there are softwares that allow you to patch. VCV being obviously one which, you know, is like the ultimate virtual modular system on your computer, but other systems as well, you know, like Max MSP, which is built around patch cables, and you know, it's very similar in that respect. So when you're working with presets, you're essentially giving up the opportunity to have this kind of exploration and discovery that you get with patching systems. And really the whole thing of patching is that you are creating something, you're building something, you're constructing it. And it's a little bit like cooking. You know, if you're going to cook something from scratch, if you say you're going to do a stir fry, you know, you assemble all your ingredients together and you start cooking it. Maybe you find out you've run out of a particular thing, some spice that you needed, so you have to substitute something else in. It's not going to be quite the same. Maybe it'll be better. Who knows? But at any rate, it's going to be different to if you just buy something at the supermarket, whack it in the microwave and heat it up. It's something that I keep saying over and over again, but it's this exploratory element, trial and error, that allows you to discover new things that are often much better than what you were originally intending to do. But just like last week when I was talking about sound design, a really important key skill is listening. You need to be able to hear what you're doing. You need to listen to what's happening within the modular, you know, and listen to how things are connecting together. What is happening in terms of texture and modulation and movement? Can you isolate those things out and listen to them? And then will that inform what you're going to do next? So in many ways, it's not just about problem solving, but it's this kind of attentive, intentional listening as well. And the combination of those two things together is what helps you to create the patch. And you know, that the ultimate creative bonus are the happy accidents. You know, and these will often happen where, you know, sometimes you do something by mistake, or you plug something in where you shouldn't have done, or you've just run out of modules, whatever, and you have to do something differently. But the happy accidents and mistakes, imperfections, they are the things that often will make the magic within your patch. And it's this kind of exploratory playfulness that helps those to happen, or causes those things to happen. And sometimes I think that can feel like you are actually in dialogue, or you're collaborating with your synth. You do something and something unexpected comes out and you think, oh, that's interesting, and so then that maybe influences you to work in a different direction or to do something different than you were intending, and then something else unexpected happens, and again you go down another path. And I think that's one of the reasons why I get on so well with Modular. Back in my when I played guitar more and I was playing in bands, in my we can call it pre-modular time, I'd come up with songs, and I'd come up with riffs and song ideas and so on, and record those. And quite often I'd record a whole song, put in the drum parts, the bass guitar, whatever. I wouldn't do the vocals because I can't sing. Thunder again. And I would present those to the band, we'd listen to them, we'd work on the tracks, and then everyone would sort of come together, putting in their own influences and everything else, and what you end up with is something that's much better than the original demo idea. Yeah, and at some point I figured out that I would never be any good as a solo musician, because I kind of needed other people to work with and to collaborate with that would sort of bring out the best of what I was producing and the ideas that I was coming up with. And so when I started with Modular, I think what I found was that you get that from the Modular, and it becomes sort of like an artificial or a machine collaborator that you can work with, because as you're working with it and you have ideas and you try them out, and the Modular does these unexpected things, and then that will influence what you do next. And so then you'll change what you were going to do, and then maybe it will do something else unexpected, and you'll change again what you're going to do, and you can end up with a piece of music that sounds very different from your original intention. And that's purely because of what the Modular has done and how it's reacted, and the feedback loops that have been set up within it, and so on. The dog has entered the room because we've got some thunder going on. And then the other thing I think that you get out of Modular that also can sort of make it a very fulfilling experience is that after some time, patching with Modular becomes like this kind of like creative ritual, where it's part meditation, part exploration. And again, I talked about this in another video as well. And so you could, when you do start patching, you can enter this kind of like very deeply focused state, where you kind of zone out, and you can lose time, and you're just very focused on that activity, and you enter this kind of flow state. And I'll probably do another video on that at some point. But it does become this kind of like creative ritual over the time, and even to a point where you might find that you're going to your Modular to work and to patch, not just to make music, but to think about things and to to feel differently and so on. And so even if you're not releasing music, or you're not putting stuff out there, just the act of just being at the Modular and patching, it can be extremely fulfilling and extremely beneficial. And so that reminds us that it's not always just about the music, and it's not always about performance. It doesn't matter if you're releasing music or not, but it's that experience and just being able to play and enjoy what you're doing. And I think as well that there are probably certain mental health benefits that you get from this, in the same way that and what I'm about to say now is by no means documented or anything. It's just my own sort of intuition, really, or my own idea. But in the same way that there are very well documented benefits to sort of keeping your mind active, whether that's through reading or playing a musical instrument, playing the piano, for example, doing crossword puzzles, doing Sudoku puzzles, anything like that. But all of those things are brought into the Modular. It is like a puzzle that you have to solve every time you sit there, or every time you sit down. There's this limitation that your resources are being used up as you work with it, and so you have to figure out what you're going to do next all the time. the deep focus that you get with it, the concentration that's required, you know, as well as the exploration and the play. And that is something that's really important, I think, as adults, you know, because we don't have opportunities for play very much, and it's something that we associate with children, but it is important for our own, you know, mental well-being as well. And so I think even if you never release a single piece of music, you know, you never do a performance, you never do anything, and you just enjoy sitting for a couple of hours messing about with your modular, you will get incredible benefits from that. In the same way as you would from any other, you know, sort of activity that sort of, you know, takes up a lot of mental energy. You know, and in this world of sort of instant gratification and, you know, social media pulling us this way and that way, and trying to get us to think about things quickly and you know, vying for our attention, I think that's even more important, that we can have this thing that actually requires time, and it requires us to slow down and sort of think about what we're doing and become absorbed in what we're doing. You know, and it's worth remembering it's not about perfection, it's not about being polished, it's about connecting with curiosity and, you know, being messy as well, as can be attested by this pile of cables to my right, which you may or may not be able to see on the camera. So yes, so I guess what this video is about is that working with modular is more than just about working with a musical instrument. It's more than just music, it's more than just putting music out there, but there are beneficial aspects to it as well, and it can be beneficial to our mental health. It can be extremely fulfilling and joyful. So, you know, you don't have to finish a piece of music, you don't have to finish a patch to get something out of it. You can just enjoy tinkering and, you know, enjoy the sounds that you're creating. You can just enjoy the learning and the discovery and being surprised by what happens. So, you know, I would say, if you are somebody out there who is interested in modular synth and you wonder what it's about and whether it's worth getting into, hopefully this video will have given you some ideas. And, you know, it's not just about the music. You know, there are other benefits to modular as well. So let me know what your thoughts are on that. You know, what was the last patch that you did where something unexpected happened and you were surprised by it? You know, by your explorations. Let me know in the comments, as ever. And yeah, I think that's all for today. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit the subscribe button and the like button and all that jazz, all that malarkey, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, thank you very much. Cheerio.